My name is Andrew Young. You may recognize me from the internet. I love my life, my cats, my job, and my community. I'm taking up your time today because on this journey of life, I've met wonderful people who make our city better, and I want you to meet them too. This is Andrew Young's Fantastic Talks with Remarkable People. Community connector, humble hero, veteran volunteer. This man was one of the first community heroes I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. We've shared time over coffee and breakfast, charity events, and at his beautiful home. He has helped mold the way that I give back. He is nationally recognized as a community champion. I'm excited that I get to spend some more time with Bob Kayser. Bob, we first met in 2011 at the kickoff party for Engage London through the London Community Foundation. I understand you were one of the founding fathers and had a lot of influence on the program. Can you tell me why you thought it was so important and your involvement in that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and one that was sort of a watershed time for us here in London. You know, we took a very circuitous route to getting here. Alexandra and I met in Montreal. My first job took me to Kingston, Ontario in 1966, and we moved 10 times in our marriage, the last 4 of which were international. And we chose London as our place to retire, to be close to children and grandchildren. And we began a sort of hyper payback period because of all of our moves. We'd never had a chance to really put down wide and deep roots that we knew we'd have to put down here. And so we started that in spades almost 20 years ago now. And so the opportunity of Engage London came about halfway through my retirement when my vision of what we wanted to do in the community was pretty solid, and then it was an opportunity of passing that on to others like yourself.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. And back in 2011, 2012, I didn't really have an idea of where to go. Not only did you help steward my involvement with the Engage program, but after that you introduced me to Marymount Children's Center as well, where I was a board member for a number of years. So I appreciate that introduction as well.
Yeah, and in fact, it's always been a bit of a philosophy of mine to try to replace myself whenever I could inside the community organizations with which I worked. So I found it very important that you agreed to follow me there on the board. And,
absolutely.
That was something important to me.
Right. There seems to be a theme of giving back to improve the lives of children. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, Marymount Children's Center, Boys and Girls Club. Why have you chosen these charities specifically?
Yeah, we were encouraged back in the day when we started thinking about this to sort of put parameters around our philanthropy. And I'm not talking just about the treasure part of philanthropy, but also the time and the talent. Mm-hmm. I really think that those 3 things go together, and in fact are part of the definition of the word. Mm-hmm. And so we decided we should have some filters in place maybe to channel our energies, and we chose women and children and healthcare because of my background in the healthcare industry.
Okay. Wonderful. I think that there's a little bit of a gap when people want to get involved and how they should get involved. I think if you develop the passion first and you know what you're passionate about, then you can kind of focus in on that in the philanthropic world as well. So it's always a difficult situation from getting to A to B in that regard. So.
Yeah, I mean, you do a better job at that than I did.
Thank you.
You know, in our generation, giving back meant writing a check. In today's generation, I learned that fairly early on in this process 20 years ago, that the modern community-minded person wants to be involved widely and deeply in the organizations that they support. Mm-hmm. And so I started right at the beginning doing the grunt work at the ground level inside the organizations to learn about them and to decide how I could contribute, largely my talent at that time.
Right.
And then, of course, evolved that into some board seats where certainly more of my time was involved. And then the philanthropy or the treasure part of it kind of evolved out of that.
Right. I know you're a very humble man, and I definitely appreciate that about you, and I've taken that to heart, and I've tried to emulate that. I want to take a second and talk about the GovernorGenerals Sovereigns Award for Volunteerism. I know that was a couple of years ago, and I want to congratulate you on that award yet again. It's a unique award, and you deserve, you know, every ounce of that medal that you received. So, what did that mean to you to receive that award?
Yeah, it's always nice to be recognized, I guess. I learned early in my career, actually, that rewards follow excellence, not the other way around in life. And so when the awards or rewards come, they're icing on top of a pretty solid cake, and they're nice to have. Right. But they're not the aspirations that you start out with.
Right. I guess I want to take a second and just discuss legacy. You've discussed where you started, and you discussed you've focused a lot in London, and of course, being a fellow Londoner, I appreciate that, and that's what I'm trying to do as well. But I just want to ask you, what do you want your legacy to be in 5, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's one that as I end my 8th decade and look forward to my 9th, when I'm going to start focusing on this even more. Sure. It's going to become very up close and personal, let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. But what I think about most now, and the reason why we moved back to London after being vagabonds for 35 years and settled down here, was to be close to children and grandchildren so that we could involve them in our lives and they could involve us in their lives. And so I guess what I'd like to deliver is the leadership by example, basically, for my kids and my grandkids on how to get started in the community a little bit earlier than I did. Right. Maybe back to some of the things that my dad did very, very well, and better than me. And so I think that's probably the legacy I'd like to leave, is commitment of the whole family to paying back. Okay.
There's no nobler cause, and you and I are very fortunate to be in a situation where we can give our time, give our talent, and give our treasure as well. So once again, I do nothing but applaud all of your efforts.
Well, and I congratulate you with what you're doing, young man, certainly through your company and also as an individual.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's the point of this conversation as well. Is I just want to inspire other people, and I want everybody to get an idea of where they can start, where they can go, and where they can finish up. And it's a long distance run. It's not just a sprint.
No, and it can be started with small steps. They don't have to be deliberate. Right. And you can fail, and you can get yourself up and figure out something else to do if it doesn't work out. But yeah, encouraging everybody to start. It's not just about 40 hours of volunteering when you're in high school. It's about changing the way you think about life in general. Right. And 40 hours is a good start, but it needs to extend beyond that.
Absolutely. I just want to take a moment to personally thank you for influencing my philanthropic career. Your time and your advice is invaluable and has been, and I've navigated the very intensive career of philanthropy because of you and a lot of your efforts and the time that we spent at Richie's restaurant enjoying breakfast. You've acted as a mentor and a sounding board, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Cheers, Andrew.
All good things must come to an end, and unfortunately, we're at an end in this conversation, but not our conversation moving forward. So I want to thank you genuinely for your time, and thank the Wolf Performance Hall for being a fantastic host today. And once again, Mr. Bob
Kayser.
Thank you so much.